I stood backstage at my college graduation, scanning the audience for my family. My parents promised they would be in the front row. My younger sister Emma said she wouldn't miss it for the world. But as names were called alphabetically and mine approached, I spotted their seats, completely empty. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. Come home immediately. Then another. And another. 35 missed calls. My hands shook as I walked across the stage to accept my diploma, alone, while my phone kept lighting up with frantic messages I was too devastated to read. The ceremony coordinator handed me my diploma in its leather folder, and I managed to smile for the photographer even though my vision blurred with tears. Around me, graduates hugged their families, posed for pictures, tossed their caps in the air. I stood alone near the edge of the lawn, clutching my phone, staring at the string of notifications. 35 missed calls from Dad, 12 from Mom, 8 texts. All variations of, come home immediately, and where are you? And this is important. My roommate Claire found me near the parking lot. She threw her arms around me, her family trailing behind her carrying balloons and flowers. There you are. We've been looking everywhere. My parents want to take us to lunch and… She pulled back, seeing my face. What's wrong? Where's your family? I forced brightness into my voice. Oh, they had something come up. An emergency. I need to get home actually. Claire's mother, a warm woman named Patricia who had fed me countless dinners over the past 4 years, frowned with concern. Is everything all right, dear? Do you need us to drive you? No. I'm fine. Thank you, though. Congratulations, Claire. I hugged my best friend quickly and hurried to my car before anyone could see me cry. The 2-hour drive from Boston University to my hometown in suburban Connecticut felt endless. I kept the radio off, my mind racing through possibilities. Had something happened to my grandmother? She was 83 and had a weak heart. Maybe the house caught fire. Maybe there was an accident. My imagination conjured increasingly terrible scenarios. I called my parents back. No answer. I called Emma, straight to voicemail. I called my Aunt Linda, my mother's sister. Nothing. The silence was somehow worse than bad news. I drove faster than I should have, hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Exit signs blurred past. I kept checking my phone at red lights, hoping for an explanation, dreading what it might be. When I finally turned onto Maple Drive, my childhood street, everything looked normal. Sprinklers ran on the neighbors' lawns. Kids rode bikes. Mr. Henderson waved from his porch. No ambulances, no police cars, no signs of crisis. I pulled into the driveway of the small colonial house where I grew up. My father's truck was gone. So was my mother's sedan. Emma's little blue Honda was missing too. The house sat dark and quiet in the late afternoon sun. I unlocked the front door with my key, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Mom? Dad? Emma. No response. I walked through the living room. Everything looked exactly as it always did. The couch with its floral print. The coffee table with water rings my mother never managed to remove. Family photos on the mantel. Emma in her dance recital costume. Emma at homecoming. Emma's 16th birthday party. In the kitchen, mail sat unopened on the counter. The coffee maker was clean. The sink was empty. Then I saw it. A note on the refrigerator, held by a magnet shaped like a flamingo. My mother's looping handwriting on lined notebook paper. Sabrina. We had to take Emma to look at the University of Miami. Last-minute opportunity for a campus tour and scholarship interview. We'll be back Tuesday. There's leftover casserole in the fridge. Congratulations on graduating. Love, Mom. I read it once. Twice. 3 times. 5 times. Today was Saturday. They left for a college tour. For Emma. On my graduation day. My little sister was only a junior in high school. She had a whole year before college applications were even due. I looked at the date on my phone. May 18th. I looked at the date they would return. May 21st. A 4-day trip. The 35 missed calls weren't about an emergency. I opened my phone with shaking hands and scrolled through the texts from my father. Come home immediately. Where are you? Sabrina, answer your phone. This is important. Your mother is very upset with you. Upset with me? For what? I sat down at the kitchen table, still wearing my cap and gown, and opened my messages. I searched for any text from my mother about Miami, about not coming to graduation, about anything. There was nothing. Then I saw it. A group text thread I wasn't included in. I found it by accident, scrolling through my mother's contact name to see if maybe she had texted me from a different number. Instead, I saw her name in a thread called Miami Trip. Participants: Mom, Dad, Emma, Aunt Linda. I clicked on it. My phone didn't usually show me conversations I wasn't part of. But this one appeared because my mother had accidentally sent one message to me individually that referenced the thread. The messages went back 3 weeks. 3 weeks. April 27th. Dad, I checked flights. We can get a good deal if we book by Friday, April 28th. Mom, booked the hotel, right on South Beach. This is going to be wonderful. April 30th. Emma, can't wait, beach time. Should I bring my new bikini or the blue one? May 2nd. Aunt Linda. What about Sabrina's graduation? May 2nd. Mom, Sabrina will understand. Emma's future is more important right now. This scholarship could be a full ride. We have to prioritize. May 3rd. Emma, do you think Sabrina will be mad? May 3rd. Dad, your sister is an adult now. She'll be fine. This is about your future, Emma. Don't feel guilty. May 3rd. Emma, okay. Can we go to that restaurant on Ocean Drive? May 4th. Mom, of course, sweetheart. Whatever you want. I put my phone down on the table. Picked it up. Read it again. They didn't forget. They didn't have an emergency. They planned this. 3 weeks ago. They discussed it. They knew they would miss my college graduation, the culmination of 4 years of work, the moment I had talked about for months, and they decided that a preliminary college tour for Emma, a junior in high school, was more important. They chose not to come. The casserole in the fridge was my consolation prize. I sat in that kitchen in my cap and gown, holding my diploma, and something inside me cracked open. Not broke, cracked. Like a door that had been sealed shut finally getting pried open, and behind it was years and years of moments just like this one. I didn't sleep that night, or the next night. I stripped out of my graduation gown and threw it on my childhood bed, that twin mattress with the faded purple comforter I had picked out in 8th grade. Then I started cleaning. I deep cleaned my bedroom like a woman possessed, pulling out every drawer, every box from the closet, sorting through the archaeology of my childhood. And with every layer I uncovered, the pattern became clearer. In a shoebox under my bed. Programs from school events. My 8th grade science fair, where I won 2nd place for a project on water filtration systems. I remembered that day. I had been so proud. I wore my best dress and practiced my presentation for weeks. My parents didn't come because Emma had a recreational soccer game where she sat on the bench for 45 minutes and played for 3. A folder of high school certificates. Honor roll every semester. National Honor Society. AP Scholar with distinction. I found them shoved in the back of my desk drawer. Never framed, never displayed. In the hallway outside my room, the walls told a different story. Emma's participation trophies lined the shelves. Emma's dance recital photos in expensive frames. Emma's homecoming court sash mounted on velvet. My high school graduation announcement, printed on nice cardstock that I paid for myself. The ceremony was on a Thursday evening, June 6th, 4 years ago. My parents came, but they sat in the back and left immediately afterward because Emma had a friend's birthday party at 7:30. At a trampoline park. For a girl Emma barely knew. I found the birthday card from my 18th birthday, signed Love, Mom, and Dad, with a $20 bill inside. That same year, Emma turned 14, and they threw her a backyard party with a DJ, a taco bar, and 50 guests. In a memory box, I found the acceptance letter to Boston University. I remembered opening it, screaming with joy, running downstairs to tell my parents. My mother hugged me briefly and said, "That's wonderful, honey." My father said, "How much is tuition?" They took me to Applebee's that night. We split an appetizer. 2 years later, Emma got accepted to her safety school, a small state college she applied to on a whim. My parents threw a backyard celebration with a banner, a cake from the expensive bakery, and a guest list that included relatives I hadn't seen in years. I pulled out my laptop and opened old family photos. I scrolled through years of images, and the pattern was undeniable. Every Christmas morning, Emma centered in the frame, surrounded by gifts. I was visible in the corner, usually in pajamas, always slightly out of focus. Every family vacation, planned around Emma's schedule. When I had a part-time job the summer after my sophomore year of college and asked if we could take our beach trip the week I had off, my mother said, "We can't, sweetie. Emma's dance intensive ends that week and she'll be too tired." We went the week Emma wanted. I missed the vacation because I couldn't get the time off work. Every family dinner conversation I could remember, dominated by Emma's problems, Emma's dramas, Emma's needs. When I talked about my classes or my struggles with organic chemistry or my excitement about landing an internship, the conversation would last maybe 5 minutes before someone redirected it back to Emma's latest crisis. Sunday morning, I sat on my bedroom floor surrounded by evidence of my own erasure, and I realized something that made me feel sick. I had funded my entire college education myself, not because my parents couldn't help, because I never asked. And I never asked because I learned early, so early I couldn't even remember when, that asking for anything meant being told no. Or worse, being made to feel guilty for needing something when Emma needed it more. I got a full scholarship to BU that covered tuition. For room and board, books, and living expenses, I worked 2 part-time jobs, one at the campus library, one waitressing on weekends. I studied between shifts. I did homework at 3 in the morning. I graduated with a 3.8 GPA and a job offer, and I did it without asking my parents for a single dollar because that was easier than being told that Emma's dance classes were more important. That afternoon, I went looking for old tax documents. I needed them for my new job's benefits enrollment, and I thought they might be in my parents' home office, a converted sunroom off the kitchen where my father kept filing cabinets. I found the tax documents. I also found something else. A folder labeled college funds in my mother's precise printing. Inside were statements for 2 education savings accounts, set up by my grandparents when Emma and I were born. Grandma Dorothy and Grandpa Paul, my mother's parents, both passed away when I was in high school. I remembered them as kind, fair people who always gave Emma and me equal birthday gifts and equal attention. I opened the first statement. Emma's Fund. Set up in 2006, the year she was born. Starting balance from grandparents, $10,000. Additional contributions over the years, another $4,000 from Grandma and Grandpa before they died. Total balance at last distribution, $0. Fully depleted in 2023, last year. For Emma's dance-intensive summer camp in New York. Below that were bank records showing my parents had contributed an additional $30,000 to Emma's fund over the years for various activities, camps, her car, and college preparation expenses. I opened the second statement. My fund. Set up in 2000, the year I was born. Starting balance from grandparents, $10,000. Additional contributions over the years. Another $4,000 from Grandma and Grandpa before they died. Current balance, $14,217, untouched. My parents never told me it existed. Attached to the statement was a printed email exchange between my mother and the fund administrator, dated 2 years ago. The administrator had written, "Per your request, I'm confirming that Sabrina's fund remains intact at $14,000. Are you planning to inform her of its existence before she completes her undergraduate degree? Many families use these funds for education expenses." My mother's response: "Thank you for confirming. We've decided not to inform Sabrina at this time. She's very self-sufficient and has secured scholarships. She doesn't need the assistance. Emma struggles more academically and socially, so we're concentrating our resources where they're needed most. Please keep Sabrina's fund in growth investments. Well, decide on distribution later." I read that email 10 times, $14,000 that could have eased 4 years of exhaustion. 4 years of working 40 hours a week on top of a full course load. 4 years of choosing between buying textbooks or groceries. 4 years of saying no to study abroad programs and unpaid internships because I couldn't afford to not work. And my parents knew that money existed. They just decided I didn't need it because I was self-sufficient. I took photos of everything: the statements, the emails, the tax records showing the distributions to Emma, and the untouched fund in my name. I created a folder on my laptop titled Evidence, though I didn't yet know what I would do with it. What I did know, sitting in that quiet house on Sunday afternoon, was that I wasn't sad anymore. I was done. My parents returned home Tuesday evening. I didn't go over to see them. They didn't call me. Wednesday morning, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Emma got the scholarship. Full ride to Miami. We're so blessed. Family dinner Friday night to celebrate. 6 o'clock. Don't be late. I stared at that message for a long time. Not how are you? Not thanks for understanding. Not we're sorry we missed your graduation. Just a command to appear and celebrate Emma. Again, I typed and deleted 5 different responses. Finally, I wrote, "I'll be there." I spent the next 2 days preparing. I went shopping and bought something I needed. I rehearsed what I would say. I practiced staying calm. I made copies of all the documents, stored them in 3 different places, and sent them to Claire with instructions to keep them safe. Friday at 5:30, I put on my graduation cap and gown. I pinned on my honor cords. "Hello, I'm delighted to assist you with our voice services. Choose a voice that resonates with you, and let's begin our creative audio journey together." Then the smell of my mother's famous lasagna and garlic bread. At least 30 people filled our small house. I stepped into the living room. The conversations died in waves as people noticed me. First the group by the door, then the cluster near the fireplace, then the kitchen crowd. Within 30 seconds, the entire house had gone quiet. My mother appeared from the kitchen, holding a tray of bruschetta. She froze when she saw me, her face draining of color. The tray tilted dangerously. "Sabrina." Her voice came out strangled. "What are you wearing?" I walked further into the room, and people parted to let me through. I saw my Aunt Linda, my Uncle George, who was a lawyer in Hartford, family, friends, the Pattersons and the Chos, neighbors, some of Emma's high school friends and their parents. I thought it was a family celebration. I said, keeping my voice level and clear. "I'm celebrating too. My graduation that nobody came to." Emma stood near the dining room table, wearing a new dress, her hair professionally styled. Her eyes went wide. "Sabrina, please don't." My father emerged from the hallway, his face already red. "Take that off right now. You're embarrassing yourself. This is your sister's night." "Is it?" I pulled out my phone, because I'd like everyone to see something. My parents had upgraded their TV last Christmas to a smart TV that connected to phones for streaming. I knew the password. I walked over to it, and my mother lunged forward. "Sabrina, no. Whatever you're thinking, don't." I connected my phone to the TV. The screen changed from the slideshow of Emma's photos to my phone's display. "I want everyone here to see what kind of family this really is," I said. I pulled up the first screenshot. The text thread titled, "Miami Trip." It filled the 70-inch screen. The room stayed silent as I slowly scrolled through the messages. The planning. The discussion about missing my graduation. My mother's words. "Sabrina will understand. Emma's future is more important right now." I heard someone gasp. "Aunt Linda." I switched to the next image. The email about the college funds. My mother's words filled the screen in 16-point font. "Sabrina is very self-sufficient. She doesn't need help. Emma struggles more, so we're investing in where it's needed." I displayed the fund statements side by side. Emma's. 0 balance. With 30,000 added by our parents. Mine. 14,000, untouched, secret, for anyone curious. I said, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. Those funds were set up by Grandma Dorothy and Grandpa Paul. They intended for both of us to have equal support. Instead, I worked 2 jobs for 4 years, while this money sat in an account I didn't know existed. Uncle George moved closer to the TV, reading the documents. His jaw clenched. I pulled up the final image, a spreadsheet I had made listing events. My 8th grade science fair, my high school graduation, my 21st birthday, my college acceptance, every single one marked with what my parents had missed or minimized. and what Emma event had taken priority. My mother's face had gone from white to red. You have no right to air our private. Private. I turned to face her. You made it private by hiding it. I'm making it public because I'm done being invisible. My father stepped toward me, his finger pointing. Turn that off right now. You're ruining your sister's celebration with your jealousy and... I told them to go to your graduation. Everyone turned. Emma stood in the middle of the room, tears streaming down her face. I told them. She repeated, her voice breaking. When they said we were going to Miami that weekend, I said we should go a different time. I said your graduation was more important. Mom said you wouldn't care because you're stronger than me. Dad said you'd understand because you're an adult now. They said not to worry about it. She looked at our parents, her face crumpling. You told me Sabrina wouldn't mind. You said she was too independent to need us there. You made me think it was okay. My mother reached for Emma. Sweetheart, we didn't. Don't touch me. Emma backed away. I've been thinking about this all week. About all the times you said Sabrina was fine on her own. All the times you said I needed you more. I thought it meant I was broken, that I was the screwed-up daughter who needed constant saving. She turned to me, her face ravaged. I'm so sorry, Sabrina. I didn't know about the money. I swear to you, I didn't know. They just always said you were the smart one, who had everything figured out. I thought I was the failure. The room erupted. Aunt Linda strode forward and grabbed the remote from my hand. She rewound to the email about the funds and froze it on screen. This is from Mom and Dad's trust. They set up those accounts to be equal. How could you steal from her fund? My mother's voice went shrill. We didn't steal. The money is still there. We just prioritized where. You committed fraud. Uncle George's voice cut through the noise like a blade. He pulled out his phone and took a picture of the TV screen. Those trust documents had specific language about equal treatment and mandatory disclosure. This isn't just morally wrong. It's legally actionable. My father's face purpled. Everyone needs to leave. Now, this is a private family matter. But nobody moved. Mrs. Patterson, who had known me since I was 6 years old, walked over and put her hand on my shoulder. Her eyes were wet. I've watched you grow up invisible in this house, Sabrina. We all saw it. I'm so ashamed that none of us said anything. Mr. Cho nodded. We thought it wasn't our place. But we noticed. We all noticed. The room filled with murmurs of agreement. People started talking over each other, sharing observations, expressing shock. The perfect facade of my parents' family life cracked and crumbled in real time. Aunt Linda pulled out her phone and made a call right there in the living room. Yes, this is Linda Martinez. I need to speak with Robert Chin about the Dorothy and Paul Martinez Trust. Yes, I'll hold. It's urgent. I believe there's been misappropriation of trust funds. My father roared. Linda, hang up that phone. She turned her back on him and kept talking. Yes, Robert? It's about my niece Sabrina's education fund. We need to review the trust documents. I think there's been a violation of the terms. My mother started crying. We were just trying to help Emma. She needed more support. Sabrina always landed on her feet. We were being good parents by erasing one daughter to prop up the other. Aunt Linda covered her phone. That's not parenting. That's sacrifice disguised as love. I felt dizzy. The room tilted slightly. Claire's mother, Patricia, appeared next to me and guided me to a chair. Sit down, honey. Breathe. Emma sat down next to me. She took my hand. Hers was shaking as much as mine. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I didn't know it was this bad. I thought they loved me more because I needed more. I didn't realize they made you disappear. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't seen before. Emma was 23 years old but seemed younger, uncertain, fragile in a way that had nothing to do with actual weakness and everything to do with being taught she was incompetent. They didn't do you any favors either, I said quietly. They convinced you that you couldn't survive without them. Emma nodded, tears dripping onto our clasped hands. My father ordered everyone out. His voice boomed through the house. All of you, leave, now. People started gathering their things, but slowly, reluctantly. As they moved toward the door, each person stopped to hug me. Not Emma. Me. Mrs. Patterson whispered. Call me if you need anything. I mean it. Cho pressed a business card into my hand. I know employment lawyers. If you need references for your new job, or anything else, let me know. One by one, the guests filed out, each offering support, each witnessing what had happened. The celebration was destroyed. The balloons still bobbed cheerfully. The lasagna sat congealing on the counter. Emma's cake, a beautiful 3-layer construction from the expensive bakery, sat untouched. When the last guest left, my father turned to me. His face was a mask of rage and something else. Fear. You've destroyed this family, he said. I hope you're proud of yourself. I stood up. I was still wearing my cap and gown. I straightened my shoulders and looked him in the eye. You destroyed it years ago, I said. I just showed everyone what you built. I walked out the door, leaving them standing in the ruins of their party. I sat in my car for 5 minutes before I could make my hands stop shaking enough to drive. My phone started ringing immediately. Claire. I answered on speaker as I pulled away from the curb. Oh my God, are you okay? Patricia just called my mom and said there was a huge fight at your parents' house and... I'm fine. I'm okay. I just need to go home. Come to my apartment. My family is here for the weekend. Mom is making soup. Come over. I did. I drove to Claire's place and walked in still wearing my cap and gown, and Patricia wrapped me in a hug that smelled like vanilla and safety. Claire's father, Martin, made me sit down and drink tea. Claire's little brother, who was 15 and usually glued to his phone, looked at me with something like awe. That was the most badass thing I've ever heard of, he said. Patricia swatted him. Language, Tyler. But it was. I stayed there that night, sleeping on Claire's couch, wrapped in a quilt her grandmother made. I slept for 12 hours straight, and when I woke up, my phone had 63 notifications. Most were from people who had been at the party. Messages of support. Apologies for not speaking up sooner. Offers of help. 7 missed calls from my mother. 4 from my father. 15 from Aunt Linda. 3 from Emma. I called Aunt Linda first. Sabrina, honey, how are you holding up? I'm okay. What happened after I left? She sighed. Your father tried to kick me out. I told him I wasn't leaving until we talked about the trust. He threatened to call the police. I told him to go ahead because I'd already spoken to Robert Chen, and he confirmed that the trust terms require equal disclosure and distribution. Your parents violated the agreement. My chest tightened. What does that mean? It means you have legal recourse. Robert is reviewing the documents, but preliminary assessment is that your parents committed breach of fiduciary duty at minimum, possibly fraud, depending on how it's prosecuted. I don't want to destroy them. I know, but you need to know your options. Robert will call you Monday. For now, just know that you're not powerless here. After we hung up, I called Emma. She answered on the first ring. Sabrina, are you okay? She laughed, but it came out like a sob. Am I okay? You're asking if I'm okay after what they did to you? Yes. Silence. Then, no, I'm not okay. I can't stop thinking about all of it. Mom and Dad are acting like you attacked us. They keep saying you made a scene. They're not hearing anything I say about how they were wrong. Where are you? Still at the house. But I'm leaving. Aunt Linda said I could stay with her for a while. I can't be here right now. Emma, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Sabrina, I've been thinking about everything. Really thinking. How many times did you watch my dance recitals? All of them. Even when you had exams. How many times did I go to your stuff? I can't remember a single time. I thought that was just how it was. That you didn't need an audience because you were confident. But it wasn't that. They trained me not to show up for you. Her voice cracked. I'm not taking the Miami scholarship. What? Emma, no. That's not. I can't. It's all tainted now. Everything I have is because you were erased. I can't build my future on that. I'm going to community college. I'm going to figure out who I am without them telling me I'm helpless every 5 minutes. Emma. I need to do this, Sabrina. For me, I need to know I can stand on my own, like you always did. We talked for another hour. She cried. We were both grieving different things, the loss of the family we thought we had, but we were grieving together, and that mattered. The weekend passed in a strange blur. I spent Saturday organizing my apartment, unpacking boxes from my move, trying to build something that felt like solid ground. Sunday, I met Uncle George at a coffee shop. He brought a folder of documents. I've reviewed everything with Robert Chen. Here's the situation. Your grandparents' trust explicitly states that both educational funds should be managed equally and that beneficiaries should be informed of their existence by age 18. Your parents violated both terms. What are my options? Legally, you could sue for the full amount they gave Emma above and beyond the trust distribution, plus damages for the years of lost opportunity. That's around $30,000 plus potentially more. My hands went cold. I don't want to sue them. I know, but I want you to know you could. You'd win. What I'd recommend instead is mediation. We present them with the facts and give them a chance to make it right voluntarily. If they refuse, then you escalate. What would making it right look like? That's up to you. But in my professional opinion, they should return your trust fund money, match what they gave Emma, and provide written acknowledgement of what they did. Think of it as restorative justice instead of punitive. I thought about it all week while I prepared for my new job. I started the following Monday as a junior analyst at a marketing firm in Boston. On my first day, I wore a navy suit I bought with money from my signing bonus, and I sat in meetings where people asked for my opinions and wrote them down. On Tuesday evening, I wrote an email to my parents. I copied Uncle George and Aunt Linda. Mom and Dad, I'd like to meet to discuss the trust fund situation and the pattern of favoritism that has defined our family for 25 years. I'm not interested in punishing you. I'm interested in honesty and repair. If you're willing to engage in that process, I'm proposing mediation with Uncle George present. If you're not willing, I'll pursue other options. You have 1 week to respond. I sent it and went to bed. They responded in 4 days. We met at a coffee shop called Grounds for Change, neutral territory halfway between Boston and their town. It was a Thursday morning. I took the day off work. Uncle George came with me, carrying a leather portfolio. My parents arrived exactly on time, both of them looking smaller than I remembered. My mother's eyes were red-rimmed. My father's jaw was set in that stubborn way I recognized from childhood arguments. We sat at a table in the back corner. Uncle George ordered coffee for everyone, his lawyer training kicking in with rituals that eased tension. "Thank you for coming," I said when we were all seated. My father started to speak, but Uncle George held up a hand. "Let's establish some ground rules. Sabrina called this meeting. She gets to speak first, uninterrupted. Then you'll have your turn. Then we'll discuss solutions." Agreed. My parents nodded stiffly. I opened my laptop and turned it so they could see the screen. I had prepared a presentation, bullet points and screenshots, everything organized and clear. For 25 years, I began, I have been systematically deprioritized in this family. I documented some of it at Emma's party, but there's more, much more. I walked them through it, every missed event with dates, every financial disparity with dollar amounts. Every conversation I could remember where my achievements were minimized or my needs were dismissed as less important than Emma's. My mother started crying around slide 7. My father's face stayed hard until slide 12, when I showed the comparison of what they spent on Emma's 16th birthday versus mine. Something flickered in his eyes then. Recognition, maybe. Or shame. "I'm not telling you this to hurt you," I said when I finished. "I'm telling you so you understand that this isn't about one graduation. This is about a lifetime of being made invisible." Uncle George took over. "Here's the legal situation." He laid out the trust violation, the potential for litigation, the strength of Sabrina's case. My father's hands clenched on the table. "We never meant to." "Let me finish," Uncle George said firmly. "Sabrina doesn't want to sue you. She wants restoration. She's prepared to offer you terms for voluntary resolution." I took a breath and pulled out the handwritten list I had made. My hands shook slightly, but my voice stayed steady. 3 terms. First, you return the $14,000 from my trust fund, plus the $30,000 you gave extra to Emma. $44,000 total. It won't undo the years of inequality, but it acknowledges them. My mother gasped. We don't have that kind of money just sitting. Second, I continued. You write me a letter of apology. Not a quick sorry. A real accounting of every event you missed, every time you chose Emma over me, every way you made me feel like I didn't matter. I need to see that you understand what you did. My father's voice came out rough. And third, family therapy. 6 months minimum. We meet with a counselor and we actually work on this. And if we refuse? My father's eyes narrowed. Uncle George answered. Then Sabrina pursues legal action. The trust violation alone is clear-cut. She'd win. But more than that, this becomes public record. Court filings, testimony. Every detail exposed. We sat in silence for a long moment. Around us, the coffee shop hummed with normal life. Students typing on laptops, a mother with a toddler, an elderly couple sharing a muffin. My mother spoke first, her voice barely above a whisper. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. I thought, Emma always seemed like she needed more. She struggled with school, she had anxiety. You were always so capable, so independent. I thought we were helping where help was needed most. You made me independent by giving me no choice, I said. And you made Emma dependent by convincing her she was incapable. You hurt both of us. My father cleared his throat. The money. We'd have to take out a home equity loan. It would take time. I'm not demanding it tomorrow. But I need commitment that you'll do it. They looked at each other, having one of those silent married couple conversations. Finally, my mother nodded. Well, do it, my father said. All of it. The money. The letter. The therapy. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. Uncle George pulled out papers. I'll need that in writing. Signed agreement with timeline. The funds to be transferred within 90 days, the letter within 2 weeks, therapy to begin within 30 days. My father's jaw worked. You're treating us like criminals. You treated your daughter like she didn't exist. Uncle George replied evenly. This is called accountability. They signed. As we stood to leave, my mother reached for my hand. Sabrina, I am sorry. I know you don't believe me, but I am. I'll believe you when I see you do the work, I said. We left the coffee shop separately. In the parking lot, Uncle George hugged me. You did good, kid. Really good. It doesn't feel good. It will. Give it time. That night, Emma called me. Aunt Linda told me what happened. I can't believe they actually agreed. Are you okay with it? The money affects you too. Sabrina, I'm relieved. I've been carrying guilt about everything I had, knowing you had nothing. Now maybe we can start over. Both of us. Where are you staying? Still with Aunt Linda. I enrolled at the community college for fall semester. I got a job at a bookstore. I'm figuring it out. Pride swelled in my chest. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you too. You fought back. You won. 2 weeks later, an envelope arrived at my apartment. Thick, heavy. My parents' return address. Inside was a letter. 4 pages, handwritten in my mother's careful script. Dear Sabrina, we are writing to acknowledge the ways we failed you as parents. It listed everything. Every missed event with dates. Every comparison that favored Emma. Every time they dismissed my needs or minimized my achievements. The language was specific, detailed, unflinching. The last paragraph read, We cannot undo the past 25 years. We cannot give you back the childhood you deserved, where you were seen and celebrated and prioritized equally. We can only tell you that we see it now. We see you now. We are deeply, profoundly sorry. We hope you will give us the chance to be better. Love, Mom and Dad. I read it once, then I folded it carefully and put it in a box in my closet. I didn't need to read it again. I just needed to know they wrote it. The first family therapy session happened on a Tuesday evening in June. The counselor's office was in a converted Victorian house with comfortable chairs and tissue boxes strategically placed on every surface. Dr. Patricia Williams was a black woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a direct manner that didn't allow for deflection. In our first session, she had us each describe why we were there. My mother cried through her explanation. My father kept his jaw tight and his answers brief. I laid out the facts simply: systematic favoritism, financial betrayal, emotional neglect. Dr. Williams listened to all of us, then said, "Here is what I'm hearing." She looked at my parents. "Made parenting decisions based on assumptions about your daughter's needs, without ever checking if those assumptions were accurate. You pathologized Emma's normal struggles and mistook Sabrina's adaptation to neglect for not needing support. Is that fair?" My father shifted uncomfortably. "I suppose." Not an answer. "Is it fair?" "Yes," he said finally. That's what we did. Over the next few sessions, patterns emerged. My father admitted he saw himself in me, the driven, independent child. And he had projected his own father's sink or swim parenting onto me. My dad never coddled me, and I turned out fine. "I thought I was toughening you up." "But I'm not you," I said. "And I needed you to show up." My mother's revelation came in session 3. I struggled after Emma was born. Postpartum depression, though I didn't know that's what it was at the time. She was a fussy baby, difficult. I bonded with her through that struggle. "With you, everything came easy. You were an easy baby, an easy child. I thought you didn't need me the way Emma did. So you pulled away from me because I didn't require saving." "Yes." Her voice broke. "And I can see now how horrible that was. You learned to not need me because I wasn't available." I created what I was responding to. Session 5 was the hardest. Dr. Williams asked them, "What were you afraid would happen if you treated them equally?" Long silence. Finally, my father spoke. "That Emma would fail. That Shed fall apart. That Wed ruin her. And what about Sabrina? I thought Shed be fine no matter what we did." And was she? He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw him see all of it. The exhaustion, the loneliness, the years of working myself to the bone because I thought that was the only way to matter. "No," he whispered. She wasn't fine. Progress was slow. Some sessions ended in shouting, some ended in silence. But we kept going. In July, the home equity loan came through. $44,000 appeared in my bank account one Tuesday morning. I stared at the number for a long time. It wouldn't give me back 4 years of working 40-hour weeks while taking full course loads. It wouldn't erase the exhaustion or the loneliness. But it was acknowledgement in its most concrete form. I used some of it to pay off my small credit card debt. Some went into savings. I realized I was only with him because I was afraid to be single. Because Mom and Dad always told me I needed someone to take care of me. But I'm taking care of myself now. I have a job. I have my own bank account. I'm figuring out who I am without someone telling me. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of us." August brought another surprise. Emma called me on a Saturday morning, her voice tight with emotion. "Sabrina, can you come to Mom and Dad's house?" Something happened. I drove there with my heart pounding, fearing the worst. When I arrived, Emma met me at the door. Her eyes were red, but she was smiling. "What's going on?" "Just come see." I followed her into the house. My parents sat at the kitchen table, boxes surrounding them. Photo albums, frames, memory boxes. "We're redecorating." My mother said quietly. "Look," she gestured to the hallway. The wall of Emma's trophies and photos was gone. In its place was a gallery of both of us. My science fair photo next to Emma's dance recital, my high school graduation next to Emma's homecoming photo, my college acceptance letter, framed finally, hanging beside Emma's. "It's not enough," my father said. "We know it's not enough. But we wanted you to see that we're trying. That we see both of you now." I looked at my diplomas, finally displayed. My honor roll certificates, framed in matching frames beside Emma's participation awards. Side by side. Equal. It wasn't enough. He was right about that. But it was something. In September, I turned 26. My parents asked if they could take me to dinner, just me. We went to a steakhouse, one of the nice ones. The kind of place they had taken Emma multiple times, but never me. My mother gave me a gift, a photo album she had made, filled with pictures of me through the years. Some I remembered, some I had never seen. I went through all our old photos, she said. I realized I had hundreds of you. I just never printed them. Never displayed them. Like you existed in the margins of our life instead of at the center of it. I paged through the album. Me as a baby, chubby and smiling. Me at age 5 in my kindergarten play. Me at 10 with my first bike. Me at 15, so serious and determined. Me at 20, exhausted but proud in my dorm room. A whole life. Documented but ignored. Thank you, I said. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was acknowledgement. My father cleared his throat. I want to explain something. Not as an excuse. Just so you understand. Okay. My father was a hard man. He believed in tough love. He told me once that praising children too much made them weak. I thought I was doing the right thing with you, making you strong by not coddling you. I see now that strength doesn't come from neglect. It comes from knowing you're supported even when you're capable. He looked at me with eyes that finally saw me. You are the strongest person I know. But you shouldn't have had to be. I'm sorry I made you raise yourself. Something in my chest loosened, just a little. I'm not ready to say everything is fine, I told them. But I appreciate you doing the work. That's all we're asking for, my mother said. A chance to do better. 6 months later, I sat in my apartment on a Saturday morning in March, drinking coffee and reading the news. My apartment wasn't big, but it was mine. A 1-bedroom in a converted brownstone with hardwood floors and large windows that let in the morning sun. I had decorated it carefully over the past months. My college diploma hung above my desk. Next to it, the photo from my delayed graduation party that Aunt Linda had thrown for me in October. In that picture, I was surrounded by people who chose to show up. Claire and her family, Uncle George and Aunt Linda, Emma, some colleagues from work, even Mrs. Patterson and her husband. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Coffee today? I have news. We met at our usual spot, a cafe halfway between her apartment and mine. Emma bounded in wearing jeans and a sweater, her hair in a messy ponytail, looking more relaxed than I had seen her in years. I got accepted. She practically shouted it. The transfer program at UConn. I'm starting in the fall. I hugged her tight. That's amazing. I knew you would. I did it myself. I wrote the essays, got the recommendations, submitted everything. No help from Mom and Dad. And it feels incredible. I'm so proud of you. There's more? She pulled out her phone and showed me an email. I got a partial scholarship. Merit-based. Because of my grades at community college. Which I earned myself. She was glowing. This was what success looked like when you built it yourself, when you knew it was real because you had done the work. We talked for 2 hours, making plans for her move, discussing her major, she had switched to psychology, laughing about her roommate situation at Aunt Linda's house. How are Mom and Dad? I asked. Better, different. They're in their own therapy now, did you know that? Individual sessions. Dad's working through stuff with his father. Mom's dealing with the depression she never addressed. They're actually trying, that's good. Are you going to Sunday dinner tomorrow? I considered it. My parents had instituted a Sunday dinner tradition a few months ago, open invitation to both Emma and me. I went sometimes, not always. Only when I felt ready. Maybe. I'll let you know. We parted with plans to see a movie next weekend. As I walked back to my apartment, I thought about how different my life looked now compared to a year ago. I had gotten a promotion at work in January. Junior analyst to analyst, with a significant raise. My boss, Catherine, had called me into her office and told me, "You have good instincts and you're not afraid to work hard." That combination is rare. I had gone to therapy too, individual sessions with a counselor named Dr. James Reeves, who specialized in family trauma. He helped me understand that healing wasn't linear. Some days I was angry. Some days I was sad. Some days I felt nothing at all about my parents. All of it was allowed. You get to decide what relationship you want with them, he told me. Not what you think you should want. Not what they want. What you actually want. What I wanted was still forming. I wasn't ready to pretend everything was fine, but I was willing to see if they could sustain the changes they had started. Time would tell. That evening, I video called Claire, who had moved to Chicago for graduate school. How's life in the big city? I asked. Exhausting and amazing. How's Boston? Good, really good actually. We caught up on our lives, and at one point Claire said, "You seem different, lighter, somehow. I feel different, like I'm not carrying something heavy all the time." That's what happens when you put down weights you were never supposed to be carrying in the first place. Sunday morning, I decided to go to dinner at my parents' house. I texted Emma, "I'll be there." I arrived at 5:30 with a bottle of wine and a fruit tart from the bakery. My parents' house smelled like pot roast, and music played softly from the kitchen speaker. They greeted me warmly but not excessively. We were all learning the right amount of attention, the balance between too much and too little. Emma arrived minutes later. The four of us sat down to dinner together, and the conversation was careful but genuine. We talked about work, about Emma's transfer, about my parents' garden. At one point, my father said, "Sabrina, I framed something I'd like to show you." He led me to the living room. On the mantel, where Emma's homecoming photo used to sit alone, was a new frame. It held a photo from my college graduation, the delayed celebration at Aunt Linda's house. I was in the center, surrounded by people, wearing my cap and gown, genuinely smiling. "Linda sent it to us," my mother said quietly. "We should have been there that day. We can't change that, but we can honor it now." I stared at that photo for a long moment. Then I noticed something else. My baby picture sat on the mantel now too, in a silver frame matching the one that held Emma's baby picture. Equal, finally. "Thank you," I said. The evening ended early. I was learning to leave before I felt overwhelmed, to protect my own boundaries even in healing relationships. As I drove home, I thought about the past year, about everything that had broken and everything that had been rebuilt, about the version of myself who walked across that graduation stage alone, devastated and invisible. That version of me had learned something that changed everything. Sometimes, love requires destruction. Sometimes you have to break open what's broken before you can heal it. My parents had built a family on unspoken rules and unconscious favoritism. They created a hierarchy where one daughter's needs always came first and the other daughter learned to not have needs at all. I had torn that structure down, not gently, not quietly, but necessarily. What we were building now was different. It was honest. It was hard work. It was accountability, and repair, and genuine effort. It wasn't perfect. Maybe it never would be, but it was real in a way our family had never been real before. I had learned that being strong didn't mean accepting crumbs. It meant knowing your worth and demanding that others see it too. It meant drawing lines and enforcing them. It meant walking away if you had to, and coming back only on your terms if you chose to. I had learned that you could love people and still hold them accountable, that forgiveness wasn't the same as pretending nothing happened. That reconciliation required work from everyone involved, not just the person who was hurt. Most importantly, I had learned that I was worth showing up for. Whether or not my parents did, whether or not anyone did, I was worth showing up for. I pulled into my parking spot and sat in the car for a moment, looking up at my apartment window. Behind that window was a life I built myself, a job I earned through my own effort, friendships I nurtured, a relationship with my sister based on truth instead of competition, a future that belonged entirely to me. I thought about the girl who stood backstage at her college graduation, watching empty seats where her family should have been. I wanted to tell her, "This abandonment will crack you open. It will hurt more than you think you can survive. But you will survive it. And on the other side of that pain, you will build something better than what you lost. You will build yourself." I locked my car and walked up to my apartment. Tomorrow I would go to work and solve problems and be good at my job. Next weekend I would see Emma and we would laugh and make plans. Eventually I might have Sunday dinner with my parents again, or I might not. All of it was my choice now. As I unlocked my door, I thought about what Dr. Reeves had asked me in our last session. What do you want people to learn from your story? I thought about it now and knew the answer. I wanted people to know that you could be strong and still need support. That independence forced upon you wasn't the same as independence you chose. That you deserved to be seen, celebrated, and prioritized, not because you demanded it, but because you existed. I wanted people to know that families weren't sacred just because they were families. That blood relation didn't excuse cruelty or neglect. That sometimes the most loving thing you could do was tell the truth, even when it destroyed the illusion of peace. I wanted people to know that healing was possible, but it required everyone involved to do the work. That accountability was love in its most practical form. That you could rebuild what was broken, but only if everyone was willing to admit there was something to rebuild. Most of all, I wanted people to know that they were allowed to matter. That their achievements deserved celebration. That their pain deserved acknowledgement. That they didn't have to earn the basic respect and care that should have been freely given. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more stories about finding your voice and standing up for yourself. And share this with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you deserve to be seen. You deserve to be celebrated. And you are absolutely worth showing up for. Take care of yourselves, and remember, your worth isn't determined by how others treat you. It's determined by how you treat yourself.